Tonight, we're diving into a world where fact and fiction blur, the realm of conspiracy theories that prove to be real. As you settle in, you'll hear about secrets once whispered in the shadows, now confirmed by history itself. Each story is designed to intrigue your mind, yet soothe you into relaxation. Let these surprising truths gently guide you toward sleep, while you discover just how strange reality can be. During the height of the Cold War, the CIA embarked on one of its most unusual experiments, training cats to serve as covert listening devices. The idea was simple but audacious. Equip a cat with a hidden microphone and transmitter, then send it to eavesdrop on enemy conversations. Engineers spent years developing technology small enough to fit inside a feline, even surgically implanting devices to avoid detection. Despite the effort, the project faced countless obstacles, from unpredictable cat behavior to technical failures. In the end, the spy cats proved too unreliable, and the program was quietly abandoned, becoming a curious footnote in the history of espionage. In the early 2000s, the U.S. military explored unconventional approaches to non-lethal warfare. Among these was the so-called gay bomb, a proposed chemical weapon intended to undermine enemy morale by inducing unexpected behavioral changes. The idea was to disperse a pheromone-like substance that could affect troops' social dynamics, potentially causing confusion and distraction. While the concept never advanced beyond the research phase, it highlights how psychological influence and human connection were considered as tools in military strategy. This unusual project serves as a reminder of the diverse and sometimes surprising directions that defense research can take. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, North Korea orchestrated a series of abductions targeting Japanese citizens. These individuals were taken from coastal towns and cities, often without warning, and transported to North Korea. The regime's goal was clear: to use the abductees for espionage training, language instruction, and even to help North Korean agents blend in during covert operations abroad. For years, families in Japan were left in the dark, searching for answers as the truth remained hidden behind layers of secrecy. Today, these abductions remain a powerful symbol of unresolved tension and human tragedy between the two nations. Project Sunshine was a covert initiative launched during the Cold War era, aimed at understanding the impact of nuclear fallout on human health. Researchers collected human tissue samples from around the world, often without the knowledge or consent of families. These samples, including bones and organs, were analyzed to measure radioactive contamination and its long-term effects. The findings played a crucial role in shaping safety standards and international policies regarding nuclear testing. However, the project's secretive methods raised serious ethical concerns that still echo today. In the 1950s and 60s, the CIA launched secret experiments to study the effects of mind-altering substances. One of their most unusual strategies involved setting up hidden observation rooms in rented apartments. These locations were disguised as ordinary social venues, where unsuspecting visitors were given substances without their knowledge. The goal was to observe real human reactions in a natural setting, all in the name of understanding influence and control. This covert research raised serious questions about ethics and the boundaries of psychological experimentation. Nestlé's aggressive marketing of baby formula in developing countries sparked a global health crisis. By promoting formula as superior to breastfeeding, Nestlé influenced countless mothers to switch, often without access to clean water or proper education on preparation. This led to increased infant malnutrition, illness, and even death. The scandal highlighted how powerful marketing can undermine public health, especially when vulnerable populations are targeted. It remains a cautionary tale about the ethical responsibilities of corporations in shaping consumer behavior. Operation Gladio was a clandestine network established in Europe during the Cold War, backed by NATO and Western intelligence agencies. Its primary purpose was to prepare for potential Soviet invasions by organizing secret armies and stockpiling weapons. However, Gladio's activities went far beyond defensive measures, involving covert operations that sometimes destabilized governments and influenced political events. The existence of this network remained hidden for decades, fueling controversy and speculation about its true impact on European societies. Understanding Gladio sheds light on the shadowy tactics used to shape the balance of power during one of history's most tense periods. During Prohibition, the U.S. government took drastic measures to enforce the ban on alcohol. One controversial tactic was the deliberate poisoning of industrial alcohol, which was often stolen and repurposed for drinking. Chemicals like methanol were added to make the alcohol unsafe, but many people still consumed it, unaware of the risks. As a result, thousands lost their lives to toxic poisoning. This episode remains a stark reminder of how policy decisions can have unintended and tragic consequences. In the late 20th century, a devastating scandal unfolded as HIV contaminated blood products were distributed to patients around the world. Many individuals, often those with hemophilia or other blood disorders, unknowingly received these tainted treatments. The consequences were tragic. Thousands contracted HIV, changing their lives forever. This crisis exposed serious flaws in medical oversight and highlighted the urgent need for stricter safety protocols. The legacy of this event continues to influence how we regulate and monitor blood products today. In 1939, researchers conducted what became known as the Monster Study, aiming to understand the roots of stuttering. They selected a group of orphaned children and divided them into two groups. One received positive speech therapy, while the other was subjected to negative feedback and criticism. The goal was to see if stuttering could be induced or worsened through psychological pressure. This experiment is now infamous for its lack of ethical consideration, as it caused lasting emotional harm to some participants. The Monster Study serves as a stark reminder of the importance of ethics and empathy in psychological research. Operation Northwoods was a controversial plan developed by the U.S. military in the early 1960s. The proposal outlined a series of false flag operations, including staged attacks and fabricated incidents, designed to create the appearance of Cuban aggression. The goal was to sway public opinion and justify American military intervention in Cuba. Although the plan was never approved, it highlights the extreme measures considered during the tense atmosphere of the Cold War. This episode serves as a reminder of how far governments may go when national interests and global influence are at stake. Operation Paperclip was a covert initiative launched by the United States at the end of World War II. Its goal was to recruit German scientists, many of whom had worked for the Nazi regime, and bring them to America. These experts contributed to advancements in fields like rocketry, medicine, and engineering, shaping projects such as the space program. The operation was controversial, as it raised ethical questions about overlooking past affiliations for scientific progress. Yet its impact on American technology and defense was profound and long-lasting. Allegations of CIA's involvement in drug trafficking have surfaced repeatedly over the past decades, particularly in connection with covert operations. Various investigative reports and whistleblowers have claimed that during missions in regions like Central America and Southeast Asia, the agency either turned a blind eye to or directly facilitated the movement of narcotics. Evidence cited includes declassified documents, testimonies from former operatives, and patterns of drug flow that coincided with CIA activity. While official sources often deny these claims, the controversy continues to fuel public debate and calls for greater transparency. Understanding these allegations sheds light on the complex intersection of intelligence work, geopolitics, and the global drug trade. In the 1960s, Canada developed a device known as the Fruit Machine, aiming to detect LGBTQ+ individuals working in government. This so-called scientific tool measured physiological responses, like pupil dilation and sweating, while subjects viewed images. The underlying assumption was that these reactions could reveal a person's sexual orientation. Despite its official purpose of safeguarding national security, the Fruit Machine was deeply flawed and invasive, leading to widespread fear and discrimination. Today, it stands as a stark reminder of how pseudoscience can be weaponized against marginalized communities. In the mid-20th century, the United States government conducted secret radiation experiments on unsuspecting citizens. Without their knowledge or consent, individuals were exposed to radioactive materials in hospitals, schools, and even public spaces. These experiments were often justified as necessary for national security or scientific advancement, but they left lasting physical and psychological scars on those involved. The truth about these tests only came to light decades later, sparking outrage and calls for accountability. This chapter reveals how trust was broken and why understanding these events matters for protecting human rights today. In the early 1930s, a group of wealthy businessmen allegedly conspired to overthrow the U.S. government and install a military dictatorship. This event, known as the Business Plot, centered around claims made by Major General Smedley Butler, a highly respected Marine Corps officer. Butler testified before Congress that he had been approached to lead this coup, which was supposedly motivated by fears over President Roosevelt's New Deal policies. Although the plot was never proven in court and no one was prosecuted, the story remains a striking example of how economic and political anxieties can fuel extraordinary schemes. It highlights the tension between power, influence, and democracy during a turbulent period in American history. During the Cold War, the CIA launched Operation Mockingbird, a covert campaign aimed at shaping public opinion by influencing journalists and media outlets. The agency recruited reporters and editors, sometimes providing financial incentives, to publish stories that aligned with American interests. This operation extended to major newspapers and broadcasters, subtly steering narratives to support U.S. foreign policy. The impact was significant, as many readers remained unaware of the hidden hand guiding the news they consumed. Operation Mockingbird stands as a striking example of how intelligence agencies can shape information and perception on a global scale. Operation Snow White was a covert campaign orchestrated by the Church of Scientology in the 1970s. The goal was to infiltrate government agencies and remove or alter records that portrayed the church or its founder, L. Ron Hubbard, in a negative light. Scientology members gained access to confidential files, sometimes posing as employees or using other deceptive tactics. This operation became one of the largest infiltrations of the U.S. government in history, involving thousands of stolen documents. The exposure of Operation Snow White led to high-profile arrests and lasting controversy surrounding the church's methods. COINTELPRO was a secret initiative launched by the FBI to monitor and undermine groups it considered subversive. The program targeted a wide range of organizations, from civil rights movements to political activists, using tactics like surveillance, infiltration, and disinformation. Agents would often pose as members to sow discord and mistrust within these groups. The impact was profound, leading to fractured alliances and a chilling effect on activism. Understanding COINTELPRO reveals how powerful institutions can shape social movements from the shadows. The Tuskegee syphilis study stands as one of the most notorious examples of unethical medical research in history. For over 40 years, African American men with syphilis were deliberately left untreated. Also, researchers could observe how the disease progressed. These men were misled and denied proper care, even after effective treatments became available. The study not only caused immense suffering, but also eroded trust in the medical system for generations. Its legacy serves as a stark reminder of the importance of ethics and respect in scientific research. In the late 1950s, the United States considered an audacious plan, detonating a nuclear device on the moon. This secret project, known as A119, was designed to demonstrate American technological power during the height of the Cold War. The idea was simple yet dramatic. A visible explosion on the lunar surface would send a clear message to rival nations about U.S. capabilities. Scientists weighed the risks and potential fallout, but ultimately, the plan was never carried out. Today, it stands as a striking example of how far nations were willing to go to assert influence and confidence on the world stage. In the early 1950s, the British government conducted a series of secret biological weapons tests known as Operation Cauldron. These experiments took place off the coast of Scotland, far from public view, and involved the release of dangerous bacteria to study their effects and dispersal patterns. The operation aimed to assess the risks and potential of biological warfare, reflecting the tense atmosphere of the Cold War era. Despite the secrecy, concerns about safety and the ethical implications of such tests lingered among those involved. Today, Operation Cauldron stands as a stark reminder of the lengths governments went to in pursuit of national security, often at the expense of transparency and public trust. In 1950, the U.S. Navy conducted a secret experiment known as Operation Sea Spray. They released a cloud of bacteria over the city of San Francisco to study how biological agents might spread in a real-world environment. The goal was to understand the risks and patterns of biological warfare, but residents were never informed. This experiment raised serious ethical questions about public safety and government transparency. The legacy of Operation Sea Spray still prompts debate about the boundaries of scientific research and the importance of informed consent. The CIA's MK-Ultra project stands as one of the most controversial chapters in psychological research. Launched in the 1950s, MK-Ultra aimed to explore the boundaries of mind control, using drugs like LSD and a range of psychological techniques to manipulate human behavior. Subjects, often unaware, were exposed to intense experiments designed to break down mental defenses and alter consciousness. The program's secrecy and ethical violations sparked outrage when details emerged decades later. Today, MK-Ultra serves as a cautionary tale about the power and responsibility that come with psychological influence. For years, tobacco companies knew about the dangers of smoking but chose to hide the truth. Internal documents revealed that executives were aware of the link between cigarettes and cancer as early as the 1950s. Instead of warning the public, they launched aggressive marketing campaigns and funded misleading research to cast doubt on the risks. This deliberate concealment allowed smoking rates to soar, putting millions at risk. The story of Big Tobacco is a powerful example of how corporate interests can shape public perception and health. In the 1970s, Ford introduced the Pinto, a compact car that quickly became infamous for its safety flaws. Engineers discovered that the fuel tank was vulnerable to rupturing in rear-end collisions, often resulting in fires. Despite knowing the risks, Ford executives chose not to address the issue, weighing the cost of repairs against potential legal settlements. This decision led to tragic accidents and loss of life, sparking public outrage and a major scandal. The Pinto case remains a powerful example of how corporate choices can impact consumer safety and trust. DuPont, the company behind Teflon, spent decades concealing the risks associated with the chemicals used in its production. Internal documents later revealed that DuPont was aware of the potential health hazards, including links to cancer and birth defects, but chose not to inform the public or regulatory agencies. Instead, the company continued manufacturing and distributing Teflon products, prioritizing profits over transparency. This deliberate cover-up not only endangered workers, but also exposed millions of consumers to harmful substances without their knowledge. The DuPont case stands as a stark reminder of the importance of corporate accountability when public health is at stake. In 2012, Facebook conducted a controversial experiment that quietly changed the emotional tone of users' news feeds. By selectively showing more positive or negative posts, researchers wanted to see if this would influence how people felt and what they shared. The catch? Nearly 700,000 users were involved, and none of them were told their feeds were being manipulated. This raised serious questions about consent, privacy, and the ethical boundaries of social media research. The incident sparked a global debate about how much control tech companies have over our emotions and whether we even notice when it happens. Cambridge Analytica became a household name after a major data mining scandal revealed how personal information was harvested from millions of Facebook users without their consent. This data was then analyzed and used to target individuals with tailored political messages, aiming to sway their opinions and voting behavior. The controversy highlighted the power of psychological profiling and micro-targeting in modern elections. It also sparked global conversations about privacy, ethics, and the influence of social media on democracy. Understanding this case helps us see how subtle techniques can shape public opinion, often without people even realizing it. Volkswagen engineered a sophisticated system to cheat emissions tests, installing software in millions of vehicles that could detect when an official test was underway. During these tests, the cars would temporarily reduce emissions to meet legal standards. But in real-world driving, they emitted pollutants far above the allowable limits. This deception misled regulators and consumers across the globe, damaging trust in the brand and raising serious questions about corporate ethics. The scandal not only resulted in hefty fines and recalls, but also sparked a broader conversation about transparency and accountability in the automotive industry. Coca-Cola has faced serious allegations regarding its operations in Colombia, particularly accusations of involvement in violence against union leaders. Over the years, labor activists and human rights organizations have claimed that individuals advocating for workers' rights at Coca-Cola bottling plants were targeted, threatened, and in some cases harmed. These allegations have sparked international campaigns and calls for accountability, with critics demanding thorough investigations into the company's local partnerships and practices. Coca-Cola has consistently denied any direct involvement, emphasizing its commitment to human rights and ethical business conduct. The controversy highlights the complex challenges multinational corporations face when operating in regions with histories of labor conflict. Shell's oil operations in Nigeria have left a lasting impact on both the environment and local communities. Frequent oil spills have contaminated rivers and farmland, destroying sources of food and clean water. The resulting pollution has led to health problems and loss of livelihoods for many residents. Beyond environmental damage, Shell has faced criticism for its role in human rights abuses, with reports of violence and intimidation against those who protest the company's practices. These issues highlight the complex relationship between resource extraction and the well-being of people living in affected regions. The Watergate scandal began with a break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters in 1972, but quickly spiraled into a far-reaching investigation of abuse of power at the highest levels of government. As evidence mounted, it became clear that members of President Nixon's administration had attempted to cover up their involvement. The relentless pursuit of the truth by journalists and lawmakers exposed a web of deception, ultimately forcing Nixon to resign in 1974. Watergate didn't just end a presidency, it reshaped the public's trust in government and set new standards for political accountability in America. The NSA's mass surveillance programs operated largely out of sight, gathering vast amounts of data from millions of individuals across the globe. These initiatives tapped into phone calls, emails, and online activity, often without the knowledge or consent of those being monitored. By leveraging advanced technology and secret partnerships with major telecom companies, the NSA built a powerful system capable of tracking patterns and connections on an unprecedented scale. The scope of this surveillance raised serious questions about privacy, civil liberties, and the balance between national security and personal freedom. Few people know that Walt Disney maintained a close relationship with the FBI during the mid-20th century. Disney collaborated with the agency to help monitor Hollywood, sharing information and supporting efforts to shape the industry's image. This partnership wasn't just about national security. It also allowed Disney to influence which stories were told and how certain values were portrayed on screen. By working with the FBI, Disney became a key figure in aligning Hollywood's output with broader social and political agendas. Operation Hemisphere was a covert initiative by the DEA designed to monitor billions of phone calls across the Americas. By partnering with telecommunications companies, the program gained access to vast databases of call records, allowing agents to trace connections between suspects and uncover criminal networks. Unlike traditional wiretaps, Hemisphere focused on metadata, details like call times, durations, and numbers dialed, rather than the content of conversations. This approach enabled investigators to map out patterns and relationships on an unprecedented scale. The secrecy and scope of the program have sparked debates about privacy and the balance between security and civil liberties. The Milgram experiment stands as one of psychology's most revealing studies on obedience. In the early 1960s, participants were instructed to administer electric shocks to another person, simply because an authority figure told them to. Surprisingly, many people complied, even when they believed their actions were causing pain. This experiment showed just how powerful authority can be in shaping our decisions, often overriding personal morals. It's a stark reminder that social pressure and the presence of authority can push ordinary individuals to act in ways they might never expect. The Stanford Prison Experiment stands as one of psychology's most provocative studies. In 1971, volunteers were assigned roles as guards or prisoners in a simulated prison environment. What followed was a rapid descent into abusive behavior, driven not by personality, but by the power of the situation itself. The experiment revealed how easily ordinary people can be influenced by authority and context, challenging our assumptions about morality and self-control. Its legacy continues to spark debate about ethics and the profound impact of social roles. In the 1940s, a series of secret experiments were conducted in which a small number of patients were injected with plutonium without their knowledge. The goal was to understand how this radioactive element moved through the human body and what risks it posed. These tests were carried out under the pressure of wartime urgency, but they raised serious ethical questions that still echo today. The participants were not informed or given a choice, highlighting the importance of consent and transparency in medical research. This chapter in history reminds us of the need to balance scientific progress with respect for individual rights. After World War II, the United States conducted nuclear tests in the Marshall Islands, exposing local communities to significant levels of radiation. In response, the U.S. government initiated studies to understand the health effects on Marshall Islanders, tracking issues like thyroid disorders, cancer, and other long-term consequences. These investigations aimed to assess both immediate and lasting impacts, but often raised concerns about transparency and ethical standards. Many Marshall Islanders felt the studies prioritized scientific data over their well-being, highlighting the complex relationship between research and responsibility. The legacy of these tests continues to shape discussions about environmental justice and the rights of affected populations. The Windrush scandal exposed a grave injustice in the UK's immigration system. Many legal citizens from the Caribbean, who had lived and worked in Britain for decades, were wrongly detained, denied health care, and even deported. Despite having every right to remain, these individuals faced sudden threats to their livelihoods and families. The government's failure to recognize their legal status led to widespread distress and public outrage. This episode serves as a stark reminder of the importance of fair and accurate immigration policies. The FIFA bribery scandal exposed a web of corruption at the heart of international football's governing body. High-ranking officials were found to have accepted millions in bribes in exchange for influencing tournament locations and lucrative marketing deals. This revelation shook the sports world, revealing how power and money can undermine fair play and trust. The scandal led to arrests, resignations, and a global call for transparency within FIFA. Understanding this case highlights the importance of integrity in organizations that shape our most beloved games. The Bank of Credit and Commerce International, or BCCI, was once a global financial powerhouse. Its sudden collapse in 1991 sent shockwaves through the banking world, exposing a web of fraud, money laundering, and corruption on an unprecedented scale. Investigations revealed that BCCI had systematically concealed losses, facilitated illegal transactions, and helped clients evade regulations. The scandal not only led to billions in losses for depositors and investors, but also forced governments to rethink oversight in international banking. BCCI's downfall remains a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked financial influence and the importance of transparency. The Panama Papers revealed a hidden world of offshore accounts and secret transactions used by some of the world's most powerful individuals. When millions of confidential documents from a Panamanian law firm were leaked, investigators uncovered how politicians, celebrities, and business leaders evaded taxes and concealed wealth. These revelations showed just how far people would go to protect their assets, often exploiting loopholes in complex financial structures. The impact was immediate, sparking global investigations and calls for greater transparency in the financial system. Operation Mockery refers to Russia's systematic campaign to spread disinformation and manipulate public opinion beyond its borders. By crafting misleading narratives and amplifying divisive content on social media, Russian actors aim to sow confusion and distrust in foreign societies. These efforts often target sensitive political issues, exploiting existing tensions to undermine confidence in institutions. The ultimate goal is to weaken adversaries by eroding social cohesion and influencing public perception, making it harder for nations to respond effectively to global challenges. Project Blue Book was a systematic investigation launched by the U.S. Air Force to examine reports of UFO sightings and other unexplained aerial phenomena. From 1952 to 1969, teams of experts collected and analyzed thousands of cases, searching for patterns and possible explanations. While most incidents were attributed to natural or man-made causes, a small percentage remained mysterious, fueling public curiosity and debate. The project ultimately concluded that UFOs posed no threat to national security, but its legacy continues to inspire interest in the unknown. During World War II, the Allies devised some surprisingly creative ways to disrupt Nazi operations. One of the lesser-known tactics involved sabotaging equipment with glue. Yes, ordinary adhesive. By applying glue to machinery, weapons, and vehicles, resistance fighters could render them useless or cause critical delays. These subtle acts of sabotage often went unnoticed until it was too late, demonstrating how small, clever interventions could have a big impact. The story of gluing the Nazis is a testament to the ingenuity and resourcefulness that shaped the fight against oppression. In 1957, a fire broke out at the Windscale nuclear facility in Cumbria, releasing radioactive material into the atmosphere. The UK government responded swiftly, but their public statements downplayed the severity of the incident. Behind closed doors, officials were aware of the potential health risks and environmental impact, yet much of this information was withheld from the public. Documents later revealed a deliberate effort to minimize panic and protect national interests. This cover-up left local communities unaware of the true dangers they faced, shaping public trust and government transparency for years to come. During wartime, the British government explored unconventional strategies to gain an edge, including secret experiments aimed at weaponizing the weather. These projects sought to manipulate natural forces like rain, fog, and even storms to disrupt enemy operations or protect their own troops. Imagine the impact of engineered downpours grounding aircraft or dense fog concealing troop movements. While the science was complex and the results often unpredictable, these efforts revealed just how far nations were willing to go in pursuit of tactical advantage. The legacy of these experiments offers a fascinating glimpse into the intersection of meteorology and military ambition. As we reflect on these stories that once seemed impossible, it's clear that reality often defies our expectations. They remind us not to accept every official narrative at face value, but to keep questioning and exploring. Curiosity is a powerful tool, even as we wind down for the night. By staying open-minded, we nurture our ability to see beyond the surface and deepen our understanding of the world. Let these thoughts guide you as you prepare for restful sleep, knowing that tomorrow brings new opportunities to learn and discover.